My name is Commander William Bill Harrison, and I'm 78 years old. I'm one of only 12 human beings who have walked on the surface of the moon. But I'm the only one still alive who's willing to tell you the real reason why we stopped going back in 1972. For 50 years, I've carried a secret that NASA, the military, and multiple presidential administrations have gone to extraordinary lengths to keep hidden. Today, with most of my fellow astronauts gone and my own time running short, I've decided the world deserves to know the truth. What I'm about to tell you will explain why the most powerful nation on Earth, after achieving the greatest technological triumph in human history, suddenly abandoned lunar exploration and never went back. The moon isn't empty. It never was. And the beings who lived there made it very clear in 1972 that we weren't welcome to return. According to official records, Apollo 17 was the final lunar mission in December 1972. The program was cancelled due to budget cuts and shifting political priorities. That's the official story. It's a lie. Apollo 18 launched in September 1973, 18 months after Apollo 17. The mission was classified at the highest levels with a crew of 3. Myself as commander, Dr. Sarah Mitchell as lunar module pilot, and Captain James Rodriguez as command module pilot. Our official mission was to investigate anomalous readings detected by previous Apollo missions on the moon's far side, specifically around crater Tsiolkovsky. Orbital reconnaissance had detected geometric structures and unusual electromagnetic signatures in regions that should have been completely barren. But even before we left Earth orbit, we knew this mission was different. Our communications were routed through military channels. Our families were told we were on an extended classified mission. And for the first time in Apollo program history, we carried weapons. Not survival equipment, actual military hardware. When I asked why we needed weapons on the moon, the mission commander told me it was standard protocol for encounters with unknown entities. That's when I realized we might not be alone up there. The launch and transit were routine, but as we approached lunar orbit, we started picking up radio transmissions that weren't coming from Earth. Faint, but definitely artificial. Structured signals with mathematical patterns, like what SETI researchers look for. These signals were coming from the lunar surface, specifically from the far side where no human missions had ever landed. We landed on September 21st, 1973, in Mar Oriental, near the moon's western limb. The landscape was eerily beautiful, but something was wrong immediately. Our equipment was detecting electromagnetic anomalies far stronger than anything previous missions had reported. 6 hours after landing, Sarah and I began our first EVA. We'd been outside for maybe 2 hours when Sarah grabbed my arm and pointed toward a ridgeline about 1 kilometer to the east. There was something moving on the lunar surface, something big. As we watched, the movement resolved into a distinct object, clearly artificial, clearly controlled. It was a vehicle of some kind, roughly triangular, about the size of a school bus, hovering 10 meters above the lunar surface, and it was heading directly toward us. My training kicked in. I activated the emergency beacon and switched to our pre-arranged coded frequency, transmitting a single word: package, the code word for non-human intelligence contact. Ground control's response was immediate. Roger, package. Maintain observation protocol. Document everything. The craft approached within 50 meters and stopped. Up close, we could see this wasn't human technology. The surface was smooth, almost organic looking, with no visible seams or propulsion systems. It seemed made of material that shifted between metallic and crystalline. Then, a section simply became permeable, and three beings emerged. They were humanoid, but clearly not human. Taller than us, maybe 7 feet, with elongated limbs and distinctive head shapes. They wore form-fitting suits that seemed integrated with their bodies. And they were examining us just as intently as we were examining them. For 10 minutes, we observed each other. The beings made no aggressive moves, but pointed devices in our direction, apparently recording information. Then one approached within 10 meters, raised a communication device, and impossibly, we heard a voice in our helmet radios. The voice spoke in perfect English. "You are from the third planet. You have returned despite warnings." I responded, "This is Commander Harrison of Apollo 18. We come in peace." "We're explorers, not invaders." Long pause. "Your species was observed during previous visits. You were advised through indirect means that this domain is restricted. Your continued presence indicates either ignorance or deliberate violation of established boundaries." That's when I realized the equipment malfunctions from previous Apollo missions hadn't been technical problems. They had been attempts at communication, trying to warn us away. Over the next hour, we learned things that fundamentally changed my understanding of our solar system. The moon has been inhabited for thousands of years by a civilization that maintains a presence throughout our solar system. On Mars, in the asteroid belt, on outer planet moons. Earth has been under observation since before human civilization began. They've watched our development, our wars, our technology, and our first steps into space. The Apollo program had been allowed as a test to see if humanity could achieve spaceflight responsibly and peacefully. But our continued presence, combined with nuclear weapons development and obvious military intentions in space, made them reconsider whether humanity was ready for a larger role in the solar system. The being made their position clear. Your species shows promise but demonstrates destructive tendencies. The moon serves as an observation post for our operations. Your presence complicates our mission and potentially compromises sensitive equipment. As our conversation continued, more craft appeared. Within an hour, at least a dozen vehicles were visible around our landing site. The lead being explained. Your species has demonstrated significant technological achievement. However, your planet's political and military activities suggest expanded space presence could lead to system militarization. They had been monitoring our transmissions, satellites, and military activities. They knew about our nuclear weapons, wars, and tendency to view space exploration in terms of national competition and military advantage. A decision has been made by the Council. Your species will be permitted to complete current missions, but future presence in this domain will not be tolerated. Earth-based observation will continue, but physical presence beyond your planet's immediate orbital space must cease. The ultimatum was clear. Abandon deep space exploration voluntarily, or it would be abandoned for us. To ensure we understood their enforcement capability, they provided a demonstration. One of their craft moved to a position about a kilometer away. Without any visible beam or projectile, a section of lunar surface simply disappeared. Not destroyed, gone, as if edited out of reality. Then the craft moved, and the missing section reappeared perfectly intact in the new location. They had demonstrated matter manipulation at a level our science couldn't theorize about. The message was unmistakable. Our rockets could disappear en route, our spacecraft disabled without evidence. But they preferred cooperation to conflict. Their final offer: your current mission will complete safely. You will return to your planet. But this is the final human presence tolerated in deep space for the foreseeable future. Humanity would be permitted space activities in Earth orbit, satellites, stations, even lunar orbital missions. But no more landings on other bodies. No more deep space exploration beyond Earth's immediate neighborhood. In return, they would continue non-interference with Earth itself. No government contact, no influence on our development. They would watch and wait for us to mature as a species. The timeline for reconsideration would be measured in centuries. When humanity proved we could manage our planet without destroying it, resolve conflicts without warfare, and be trusted with advanced technology, restrictions might be lifted. Until then, the solar system beyond Earth orbit was off limits. We completed our mission and returned without further contact. But our journey was shadowed by craft monitoring our progress. The debriefing was unlike anything I'd experienced. NASA officials, military intelligence, government representatives, and unidentified individuals. We were isolated for 3 months, questioned repeatedly, and required to sign documents that made our NDAs look like parking tickets. Apollo 18 was officially cancelled due to budget cuts. Hardware was disposed of, records classified beyond access, and we were reassigned to positions far from public attention. Dr. Mitchell disappeared into classified research. Captain Rodriguez left the military completely. I was given a NASA desk job until retirement, working on projects that never went anywhere. Over following years, I watched as the space program was systematically scaled back. Remaining Apollo missions cancelled, lunar base plans scrapped, Mars exploration pushed decades into the future. Official explanations were always budgets, politics, and technical challenges. But I knew the real reason. We had been told to stay home. Attempted deep space missions suffered unusually high failure rates, equipment malfunctions, communication failures, navigation errors. To outside observers, it looked like bad luck. But I knew we were being reminded of the agreement. Most disturbing was watching other astronauts continue promoting deep space exploration without knowing why it would never happen. They genuinely believed cancellations were temporary, that we'd return to the moon within decades. For 50 years, the agreement held. Human space exploration stayed in Earth orbit, ISS, satellites, space telescopes, all permitted activities. But the past decade changed everything. Private companies like SpaceX are pushing boundaries. There's talk of return moon missions, permanent lunar bases, Mars colonies. The new generation doesn't know about the agreement. More concerning, I've been monitoring radio frequencies and detecting the same signals from Apollo 18. The lunar inhabitants are communicating more frequently with increasing urgency patterns. I believe they're preparing to enforce restrictions that new space companies are unknowingly violating. I'm 78 years old. Most Apollo astronauts are gone. The people who made the original agreement are dead or powerless. The new generation has no idea what they're heading into. I'm speaking out because when SpaceX or NASA sends humans back to the moon, they need to understand they're not going to an empty world. They're going somewhere explicitly declared off limits. The recent UFO acknowledgements, strange Mars mission failures, increased sightings. I think we're being warned again, but the warnings are being ignored. Based on transmissions I'm monitoring, we have maybe 5 years before they decide the agreement has been violated and take direct action. My name is Commander William Harrison. I walked on the moon in 1973 and was told humanity was not welcome to return. For 50 years, that agreement held and may be why human civilization developed without interference. But people who don't know it exists are violating that agreement, and consequences could affect not just space exploration, but human civilization's future. The lunar inhabitants aren't enemies, but they won't tolerate solar system militarization by a species that hasn't learned to manage its own planet. We can continue pretending we're alone and stumble into an unwinnable conflict, or acknowledge reality and find a path respecting all intelligences in this system. I kept silent for 50 years. Now I'm speaking out. We stopped going to the moon because we were told to stop. Until we're ready to be responsible galactic community members, that's probably for the best. The moon is watching. They've always been watching. Our next moves determine whether humanity has a future among the stars or remains quarantined until we grow up. The choice is ours, but the clock is ticking.